We are now going to reconvene the Synod Assembly. We are now in plenary session 3. What we are going to do, because it seems like, based on the number of people voting in the contested election, that we may need to give you a little more time. Because I know if I were at home, I'd be sort of confused as far as what is happening and when. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Julie, who is our assembly director, come in and explain again how you actually do the vote. And we're going to keep this election open until after the budget resolution, and then we'll have the report of the contested election.
So our election for the Synod Council members came to your inbox. Again, that was the inbox that you used at the time of your registration, that email address. So we want you will need to minimize your Zoom screen. You do not need to leave the meeting, but you are going to need to check your email. And in your email, you will have received an email from Chris Dernier that says something about Northwest Minnesota Synod Assembly election. When you click in that email, you will see that there is a link right above it. It says vote for one. When you click on that, you will see the 2 candidates for our Synod election or Synod Council positions. Choose one and then make sure in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a red arrow that will submit your vote. So make sure you do all those steps and then you can come and join us again here on Zoom. You do not need to leave the meeting if you just minimize the screen so that you can check your email. And again, we will have those results after our budget.
Thank you, Julie. What would slip me up would be that red arrow that you have to push to send the results back to us. So this afternoon in the plenary session 3, there are going to be items of business. First of all, we're going to have the financial report. We will have 2 ballots on the budget, and then we will have presentations, a wonderful presentation that's called 50-40-10. And then we're going to have 2 additional resolutions before we break. So this is where we're going. So hopefully you'll find this interesting. So what we're going to do now is one of the parts of the Synod Assembly is the presentation of the financial report. In that report, you're going to find a lot of information. In addition to that will be the audit report as well. And Catherine Dickey, who has served us so well as the Synod Treasurer over the last number of years, this is her last Synod Assembly, and she has done outstanding work. It's just absolutely amazing, Catherine. I don't know how you do this. And she's even managed to change some of the formatting as we've gone through this year. So everyone should say thank you to Catherine. We'll all clap. And so thank you so very much for your service. And now we're going to look at the financial report.
Okay, I'm really hoping that everybody is able to see me now, and I have a few things, I have some remarks to make, but that I would also like to talk with everybody currently. Good, thank you. I'd like to talk to everybody about our current financial statements and where we came out through the budget. So I'd like to start with my remarks, which I prepared ahead of time. So I'm going to be focusing my eyes away from the screen for a second so that I can prepare that, because I wanted to talk more about the numbers rather than just point at them for you. So these are my remarks. The past year brought on many challenges for the Synod and of course our greater community. Now these are beyond just the financial challenges. These are challenges that affected the finances, which is a little bit different than sometimes we're in the situation. With Bishop Bill Tesch's leadership, the Synod was able to respond with flexibility and nimbly react to the changes brought about by the pandemic. Now, as you know, our financial year starts on February 1. We are a month after when everybody else's books close, so we have a chance to react to the different congregations. So just as our financial year was starting, the pandemic started, and that led to an initial drop in giving 35% to the Synod. just like everybody else, we didn't know what was going to happen. So as soon as humanly possible, Bishop Bill Tesh and I went ahead and contacted SBA administration and Bell Bank, and with Bell Bank's help and guidance, we were very quickly able to secure a PPP loan. And as essential in that first row of tranche of PPP giving or PPP loans, paycheck protection, we were able to keep everyone fully employed at the Synod. And that is essential, as you know, for everybody to be able to maintain the work that we do to support everybody else. And I think we were able to support other congregations in guiding them through some of that challenging work of getting that loan and encouraging folks to do that, because that was essential for not just the Synod, but for so many congregations. So we were able to get the PPP loan, and with Bell Bank, we were actually able to get 100% loan forgiveness of that amount of money too, and that was $65,000. That was a big deal. That loan allowed us to carry forward full employment, and because of the loan and reduced programming and generous support, the Synod was able to maintain full giving back churchwide. We had initially held off on our giving, and then we only had to do that for a month or so before we were able to make sure that we gave back, and we achieved 100% of our goal of 40% giving to churchwide. So that was a huge accomplishment for all of us. At the end of the year, the Synod has been able to budget support with all of the generous support of everybody. We're able to budget forward into now the current year, the Table of Mercy Ministry, the PSU Young Adult Ministry, the Commission on Racial Equity. These are new initiatives from Bishop Tesh that are in line with the strategic plan and our lines of effort. And it's really important that we be able to support those new ways of doing things. We were also, for the first time, we were part of, I'm going to get it wrong. No, I'm not. Giving Hearts Day and Give to the Max. And we received enormous generosity and consideration in those efforts. Once again, we engaged the auditing firm of Widmer Roll for our audit, and we had a successful audit, and the Synod once again got what's called a clean audit report. That's like highest praise, is a clean audit report. The audit report, I believe, is also on our website, and you should feel free to look that over. And feel free to ask me any questions. If you have, sometimes they can be a little opaque, but I'm happy to help with anything you might need there. I am beyond pleased that Chris Eldridge is joining the Synod as the new treasurer. I believe his experience in planning and finance is going to be a huge asset to the Synod moving forward. I'm very, very good at nuts and bolts and spreadsheets. Chris's experience will really forge a new vision and way forward with the bishop. He is really the right man for the right time. And I'm really excited for the Synod, for his leadership coming up. As the Synod fully lives into the new strategic plan, the next treasurer will work to align all of our resources of restricted funds into those lines of effort and as part of the new strategic plan. And I think Chris is going to be really great at that. So I am leaving my post as treasurer of the Synod. I have truly valued my time at the Synod, being able to work both with Bishop Larry and Bishop Tesh. The experience has brought me so much joy. And honestly, one of my greatest joys of being treasurer has been the Synod assemblies. I have felt the hand of God so thoroughly in these joinings, and even on Zoom. So, you know, I wish that we would all have a chance to see each other personally, but it has been a great joy, and I hope to come back to Synod Assembly as a voting member. Finally, I'd like to say that I encourage everyone to review the financial statements and the budget on the Synod website. I'm not sure if I'm able to share a final Synod budget. Is that something, anybody know if I can do that? Can you at me? Yes, I can. I can go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to share my screen. Oh shoot. Okay, hang on. I think I can do it. Stop video at the bottom. They're telling me it's the big green button at the bottom. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share this screen, this document. And I'm hoping I'm going to make it bigger and then just do it at the top so that everybody can see that. I'm hoping everybody can see this a little bit. Okay, so this is a 3-year scan of our budget. You can see our revenues and our expenses. Click share the screen. Did I not? Okay, hold on. Oh, click share button. Got it. Okay. Now I'm hoping that that works. Now you should be able to see a 3-year snapshot of our budget, and you'll see we work from the revenues and expenses. Current, the one that says budget year ending, this is the one we just ended. We're currently in budget year ending, and this is, I believe, what we'll be voting on. And then this is the preliminary budget, which we'll also vote on, but we often have to change. And we've been able to, everything pretty much rolls along as you've noticed in the past. It's pretty basic, pretty standard. There are a couple of things here I want you to notice. I want to bring your attention to this transfers from restricted line. And transfers from restricted means that we're using those given dollars that were given in a prior period. So this coming year, we want to use some of those extra funds that we had from this past year just ended. And then we also have some increases here moving forward, use some of those dollars. And those will probably be like Minnesota Gives, the Giving Hearts and Give to the Max Day. We are projecting a slightly smaller mission support because we weren't sure at the time. We want to be conservative in as we get back on our feet, as we all get back on our feet. And then I'm moving down to expenses a little bit. Here, as you know, the churchwide mission support is just a percentage. That is a 47% amount based on our mission support that we're given, and that just follows that very, very top line. We have changed our partners in ministry to also reflect an exact giving percentage, and we did that this past year when we were really worried that our giving to us was going to be low. We didn't want to give more than we were able to the partners in ministry. So we've tagged that very similarly to mission support churchwide. Here I want to show you these new areas that we're supporting that align more closely with the new strategic plan, which is such a bonus. So, and then only other thing that might really stick out to everybody, excuse me, is this $74,000 number here in office expenses. And that is we're going to use some of those restricted funds. We're going to release some of our restricted funds specifically to be able to revamp the website. And that's why that's a 1-year bump up in that amount, that is a revamp of the website, and that we would get some outside help with that. So that's really a bonus. And then this is something that Bishop Tesh brought up, and I just want to show everybody. I'm going to just quickly show everybody that vehicle expense line and how much money we're saving just from being able to use those vehicles that we have, instead of paying really quite a bit more money than we used to for mileage. So that was just one of those little saving things that we looked at sort of with fresh eyes and were able to do. And then we come down to the bottom, and you'll see these are our expected bottom revenue. Net revenue means money left over. So we will likely adjust that 3rd year. We'll likely adjust that out so that we can bring things more into line when that becomes not preliminary budget, to make sure that we're spending is in line. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I think I know how to do that. And I would love it if anybody has any questions. There, I did it.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for your very hard work and your very thorough report. One of the most difficult tasks that the bishop and Catherine had during the last year has been looking at all the restricted accounts and trying to figure out how we can use the restricted accounts for programming that going into the future, and then some of the programming that we presently were doing. So that was a yeoman's job that you did. So thank you very much for that. The next two items on the agenda are going to be both financial. The first one is going to be the budget, and the second one will be the presentation of the compensation guidelines. So the first one we're going to deal with is the budget. The budget can be found in your materials as well. We're going to do something rather unusual here because we're going to take two votes. One will be on the budget that we're presently living in, because we did not have a Synod assembly last year. So it's basically a ratification of what we're in the process of doing. And the second one would be the whole issue of this year's budget, how we're going forward. So we're going to do this one first. And so we're going to open now the discussion for the budget, and then we will come to Zoom votes. It's a simple majority for both of these votes. So do you want to do this, Bishop Bill, or shall I? Or, oh, the expense for the cars. There was some concern about that. What Catherine was telling us is that the expense is actually reduced because we bought a car. We had looked into the whole issue of leasing a car. We had looked at what was happening as far as the amount of mileage that was being charged to the Synod. Let's put it just like it is. We've made dramatic savings. We have had Zoom meetings, which really cut down on the mileage. And with Bishop Bill traveling around and all the other staff members who are able to use this car, we actually did have some financial savings in that regard. So if you have more specific questions about that, once again, send the message to the moderator, and then we'll get back to you directly via email personally to you. If you want it further explained to everybody, let us know that as well. Okay? Where was the purchase? We did the purchase of the car. We did it on bids. So we got what we considered to be one of the best deals. Being a good old Norwegian lady, we did get a good deal. Okay. And so we did look at all those options. And so the purchase was made. It's not a car that has lots of bells and whistles, but we also tried to be true to our mission by being kind to our environment, being part of God's creation, and making sure that that we could be sustainable during this part. So we'll probably have more impactful information during the next assembly because we'll have more data to present at that time.
Vice President Sharon, I think, and the question is, they're also asking where in the budget is that expense reflected?
Okay, Bishop Bill, do you want to talk to that?
Or I think Catherine should.
Oh, Catherine, can you come back on? This is the first time we've had one of these dialogues. Catherine? Unmute and tell them where it's in the budget.
So in the budget, it's the expenditure down at the bottom of the expenditure lines. The car itself is an asset. That is going to be, it's something we own, right? Because it's not just a lease, right? So it's not, it's something we own. So the actual car itself, that actually lives on what's called the statement of financial position when you look in your report, and it's considered an asset.
Where does that appear?
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
It's the other one. When you're looking, I don't think I can share from here. But you go into the report and it should say audited financial position. Oh, hey, here I am. Okay, I'm going to do the sharing screen thing again. And then, okay, let's see if this works. And it's
I'm
a
sure
share.
many of you are going to be having more questions. The way that you do address these are through the moderator, so you're doing that correctly. So that is good. We'll try to give as much information as we can. Some of the data we will not have compiled at this point, let's put it that way. So, but from what we've been observing over the last year, actually year and a half now, it has been beneficial to us.
So the property, all of the property of the Synod is in this asset section of property and equipment. And so the cars live in these numbers here, with the depreciation as well, because as you know, as you use an asset, it doesn't have as much value. So they live right there in the cars actually live in this property and equipment line.
Okay, and if we wouldn't have had this pandemic this last year, we would have been able to see the results of that decision in a much clearer way. And it might have been something that the Synod Council had revisited if it was not being cost effective. So do know that we'll be monitoring that over the course of the next few months. Okay. All right. Any other questions through the moderator that have to be answered for everyone? Reason why I'm looking over my shoulder is all the folks are over there. Okay, no other questions at this time. If you do have, do the individual and we'll answer it individually as well. All right, so now what we have is we are going to open the discussion on the budget, and we're going to do both of the budgets at the same time. It's sort of irregular here, but we're going to have two votes. Maybe we'll have to have only one discussion.
We'll have one poll with two votes.
So the
Okay.
poll will pop up and there are going to be 2 questions to answer. So-
Okay, all right, we're going to only have one time on Zoom with 2 questions. So now I open the discussion to the item called budget. And once again, we're going to have 3 in favor, 3 opposed. The total time limit is 12 minutes. So is there anyone now that's in the queue for either speaking against or speaking in favor? First person would be speaking in favor.
Reed Tinkham.
Reed Tinkham is the first person who is going to be recognized to speak. Welcome, Reed.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. I'm speaking as a Synod Council member in support of the budget resolutions. And I'm shortening this up a little bit because some of these points have been very well covered by Catherine. As we look at the budget for the current year and the 2023 year end, we see the influences of our strategic plan, and more specifically, the lines of effort as part of the strategic plan resolution. As an example, the first line of effort of the strategic plan addresses congregational vitality. And that is with a huge emphasis on small congregations, small communities, rural situations, and startup ministries. A couple of examples of this are the ones referenced by Catherine in the Ministry for the Homeless in Moorhead and the young adult ministry in Bemidji. So they very much line up with the strategic plan. And just as an additional thought before I'm done here, I would say maybe, after the assembly is over with, I would encourage you to take some time and read and study the strategic plan, spending some time prayerfully thinking about our direction and our path for the future, and then go back to the budget and look through it a little closer. And you will hopefully see how our plan can be put into action and service for all the people of Northwest Minnesota. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Reed. Are there other people who are wishing to either speak against or speak in favor? Any other people wishing to speak?
There's a question and I can address.
Okay, here we go. Bishop Bill.
So, hi, we have this question from Pastor Greg Isaacson, and in Crookston, Trinity Lutheran in Crookston. And so the question is, what is the process of including Table of Mercy and BSU the BSU, I'm assuming means the new worshiping community associated with campus ministry there, entitled A Place for Grace, as a budget for the Synod. Also, what resources are being used for these ministries? So I'll take the first question. So this was a process of deliberation with the Synod Council as they prepared the budget. These ministries are partnership ministries. It's kind of the sweet spot where all three expressions of the church come together: the congregational expression, the synodical expression, and the church-wide expression of the church. And so when we do these kinds of ministries, we fund them usually in 2 or 3 and 4 year timeframes. And so we do not anticipate that these items will live on the budget forever, but they will likely live on the budget for 2, 3, or 4 years, as long as the Synod Assembly gives their approval to that. The resources that are being used are, you can see the resources, they're there in the revenue side. They're mostly mission support resources from congregations. It's your dollars that each congregation shares through mission support with our Synod and our churchwide organization. Some of those dollars we put directly to work here in northwestern Minnesota across the Synod. And some of those go on to churchwide for ministry all across the country. And then some of that comes back to us in the form of grants. For example, these two ministries also have grants from our churchwide organization during the startup phase. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and sort of expound a little more on that. It is your Synod Council at work, those people who represent the conferences and are large people from the various parts of the Synod. A lot of times in the discussion, things come up and people say, that would be a great idea. And then what's happened with this wonderful Synod staff is they've gone out and found either grants that would be supporting that, found individual congregations who also wanted to partner in that. And the same way with those restricted dollars, trying to spread those a little bit out to all the different parts in the Synod. It's been rather amazing to work, but that's where it's been coming from. It's been percolating up from the people in the pew saying, this is an exciting idea, coming to the Synod Council, Synod staff doing a wonderful job. So if you have great ideas, bring them. I can't pontificate, I'm sorry. Shh, I just broke my own rule, but do bring them to anybody who is your person from your conference or contact the Synod staff. Okay, dear me, I would call myself out of order. Where's that gavel? Okay, we're going to go on now to any more discussion from the people out there.
There's no more.
Is there anyone more? No, there is no more discussion. The moderator says he has no one being in queue. So now what you're going to find is there'll be a pop-up on your screen. It'll be once again a Zoom vote. There will be 2 votes on the same screen. One for the first budget, that's the one we're in, and then one for the future budget. So we're going to take 30 seconds for you to be able to vote, and we'll just stand here and just talk maybe? No, we'll be quiet. Voting starts now. Still working? Good. How far along? How many percent are we at? And that's about usually between 86 and 89% of people voting there. So that's the percentage. Okay. All right. Should we? Yeah, we're going to. Should we? You think everybody's had a chance? Just wait for one more. Okay, we'll confer. Okay, it looks like Zoom is a much easier way for you to vote. We do have the results of this budget ballot, and the result is nearly 100% are in favor of the budget issues. So thank you so much. And we'll move on now. Bishop Bill, can you introduce the next podcast?
Yes, we will. Yep.
Okay, we'll do this for a minute.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, good. It's good to be back with you. I hope you had a great lunch, and I see nearly as many participants this afternoon as there were before lunch. So it's so good to have you engaged in this way. We're going to have a conversation now with Pastor Caitlin Jensen, who is the pastor in her first call, serving in Conference 1 at First Lutheran in Carlstad. Earlier this year, Caitlin and I were having a conversation, and she was sharing about her passion to have conversations with people and do that in the format of a podcast. And I invited her to consider the possibility of doing these podcasts for around the 50th anniversary of the ordination of women, the 40th anniversary of the ordination of women of color, and the 10th anniversary of the ordination of our openly LGBTQ plus rostered ministers. And so I'm going to just have a brief conversation with Caitlin, but I invite you to check out the podcasts. We've been sharing them on our Facebook page. They're entitled Here I Am. They're just really wonderful conversations, some with women who've been in ministry for many, many years, and some who are new in ministry. And so find them on our Facebook page, and we'll be sharing them in other ways as more podcasts roll up. But Caitlin, why did you start the podcast? What was it that inspired you to do that?
Well, it's good to see everyone. It's good to see you, Bishop Bill. I'd say probably about a year ago, I felt the Holy Spirit churning in me to look at the stories of women. For myself personally, I've always struggled with being a woman in ministry, not really feeling welcomed in the church, whether it's not hearing our stories in the Bible or hearing examples of faithful women in present day. And so a lot of my joy and my passion comes from learning about women's stories in scripture and also in our world today. And with the podcast, I wanted to give a chance to have people share their own stories and share how God's been moving in their life, how God has called them. So that is a big part of why I want to do the podcast. I know we had the conversation, and last year we were wanting to celebrate the 50th anniversary of white women, the 40th of women of color, and the 10th of LGBTQ folk. But because of the pandemic, we didn't have the chance to do so. And it was having that conversation with you was a powerful way to connect and see that the Holy Spirit's leading us in the same direction, and we're able to work together with that.
Yeah, thank you. I've loved these podcasts and the conversations, such deep and I think oftentimes personal and moving conversations. And I'm wondering, as you listen to these stories, what did you learn as you listen to the voices of women in ministry?
I think so I've learned a couple of things. The first is the courage and bravery of women who are in ministry. Mm-hmm. And really the fearlessness. And that's something that's really blessed me in these conversations, as well as getting to see I know we talked about this in a few different podcasts, but the holy imagination of can look like, and how these different women have exemplified that. So that has really been a blessing.
Thank you. So what are you hoping will come from these podcasts, and what would you hope would be a takeaway for people who are listeners of these podcasts?
I'd say, so I have two hopes. The first is that we'd ask women to share their stories and to not be afraid to be open about that in our congregations. So that would be my first hope. The second hope that I hope comes from this podcast is when I originally sent out the questions for, or when Chris originally sent out the questions on my behalf for everyone, someone ended up replying and saying that they were disappointed that the questions didn't focus on women of color's experiences. And that was a huge wake-up call for me. As a white woman, I am privileged in that aspect. Like, I don't naturally think about what a woman of color's experience is in the Synod. And after reflecting on that and then thinking about, we don't really have any representation of women of color in our Synod, my hope is that we can find ways to be more welcoming as a Synod, whether it is having guest preachers, or having other women of color come to events like this, like Synod Assembly or Fall Theological. I think that would be really wonderful.
Thank you so much for naming that. And also you named it to ask the question about, to hear stories of women of color, and then to be fearless enough to just listen, because what we often hear won't always be easy to hear. I want to thank you for being fearless enough to ask the questions and to listen attentively. And thanks for your good work in these podcasts. I hope all of you will tune into them. You can, again, we're sharing them on our Synod Facebook page, and you'll find them there, and we'll be sharing them via other means as well. Thank you so much, Pastor Caitlin. Enjoy the rest of the assembly.
I will.
All right. We're going to move on now to the ballot results for the, are we ready with the ballot results? Okay, I'll invite Sharon to come up and share those for the elections.
You already have the results for the ballot for those people who were nominated, who no one else was nominated for, and that was 100% at that point. Then we went on to the position for Director at Large for the Synod Council, and we had a very robust election at that point. Joyce Lacey, congratulations. She is the new representative. She has 52%. And as I said, it was very, very close. And Willard, you are not going to be able to go quietly off into the night, because we will find a place for you to serve, because we need to have all voices at the table. Discussions that we're having are not necessarily easy, but they're ones that have to be had. This is 2021, and we are responding to what the world has to offer us at this point. I would like to also congratulate all the other members of the people going to the assembly and church council, Synod council people. And you should note that there were so many people who have decided to run for a second term. And I think that is a wonderful indication of the kind of excitement and the kind of energy that this Synod Council has on your behalf. So thank you to all of you. Now we're going to move on to another financial issue, and that is, first, we're going to have a presentation of the compensation guidelines. This is going to be done via video. So please pay attention as we go forward with this.
Greetings in the name of Jesus. I'm Pastor Elizabeth Hiller, and I'm joining you today from Dilworth Lutheran Church. I am a member of the Northwest Minnesota Compensation and Guidelines Committee, and I serve as a pastor here. Our committee is additionally comprised of our volunteer chair, John Olson. He serves as a pastor, part-time pastor of our Synod's Ministers of Vocation. Additional members of our committee are Alan Bertelrud, a lay member from Bethany Lutheran in Red Lake Falls, Kathy Hunstead, deacon from Trinity Lutheran in Moorhead, John Liseth, deacon from Concordia College, Moorhead, Randy Moe, lay member from Bigland Luther in Fisher, and Randy Whitehead, pastor of the New Life Parish in Rothsay. Today, I want to draw your attention to the 2022 compensation guidelines for pastors or ministers of word and sacrament. The compensation guidelines that you received are a resource to help your congregation determine compensation. The intent is to give fair compensation and support for your leader so that your leader and your congregation can best follow Jesus together. The 2022 guidelines recommend a $1,000 increase at all experience levels. This increase, with other subsequent increases, amounts to about $1,570. We hope that this increase both acknowledges the significant financial challenges that many congregations face during the pandemic, and we hope that it will help our congregations to attract and sustain qualified rostered ministers. Finally, a note for our congregation's treasurers and bookkeepers. The Portico Benefits Calculator is now accessed only by those who have login credentials to the Portico website. Please keep this in mind as you put together your leaders' compensation for 2022.
Hi, I'm Deacon John Liseth, and I'm one of the campus ministers at Concordia College. And I'm here to talk with you about updates to our Synod's compensation guidelines for ministers of word and service, or deacons. We made these updates with two goals in mind. The first goal is equitable compensation, recognizing that this roster includes a wide variety of years of service, ministerial preparation, including academic preparation, leadership responsibility, relevant professional experience that deepens capacity for current ministry. We have a wide variety of deacons serving in our church. So we wanted to make these guidelines equitable in terms of providing a determination of equitable compensation for a specific deacon serving in a specific call with specific preparation, specific years of experience, etc. The second goal in terms of making these updates is that we wanted to make them practically usable. We wanted to make them easy to use. So I want to talk with you about three updates. The first of these three updates is an across-the-board increase in compensation for our Synod's deacons, which is parallel to the increase for our Synod's pastors, something that Pastor Elizabeth Hiller already talked to you about. The second update is a formatting update. In our previous guidelines, we had a range of years of service translating to a range of potential base salaries. What we've done is we've changed the format to a table that includes rows based on single years of service and columns that include earned academic degree for ministry. The third of our updates includes borrowing additional considerations from our guidelines for determining equitable compensation for our Synod's pastors. Clearly, our church values academic preparation and other kinds of ministerial preparation, leadership responsibility, and previous professional experience that deepens a minister's capacity in their current ministry context. And we've been using these considerations to determine equitable compensation for our Synod's pastors for years. So why wouldn't we also use them to determine equitable compensation for our Synod's deacons? So you'll see that in this update. Then the way this works is hopefully simpler. You use the table. You take your deacon's years of service, find that row. You find your deacon's academic preparation to serve in ministry and find that column. This gives you a base salary. And then to that base salary, you make additions based on those additional considerations, including additional training and education, leadership responsibility, previous professional experience that deepens their capacity to serve in their current ministry context, very similar to the way that you would for a pastor. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that very thorough explanation via video. I'm now going to recognize Pastor Wade Dutton once again to read the be it resolved clause for this next resolution.
Thank you, Sharon. Resolution 3, a resolution to adopt
Sorry, we lost sound for a second.
Okay. These are the things we've learned this year. Resolution 3, a resolution to adopt the 2022 compensation guidelines. Again, the author is the Synod Council, and the recommendation of resolved that the Northwestern Minnesota Synod in Assembly adopt the following compensation guidelines. 2022 compensation guidelines for ministers of word and sacrament called to congregations or parishes without parsonages. 2022 compensation guidelines for ministers of word and sacrament called to congregations or parishes with parsonages. 2022 compensation guidelines for ministers of word and service. 2022 compensation guidelines for synodically authorized ministers, 2022 compensation guidelines for lay church workers.
Thank you, Pastor Wade. And I know we did have a temporary glitch in our sound, and I know our folks are working on it. So hopefully, I think we're back. As this originates in the Synod Council, it's already been moved and seconded, and the resolution is before you. Are there any speaking to the resolution? Okay. The chair recognizes Joyce Lacey. And as you come on, please share your name, your congregation, and whether you're speaking for or against.
Hello, my name is Joyce Lacey. I'm with Peace Lutheran out of Ashby, Minnesota, and I'm speaking in favor. And I would like to put this in favor of adopting the Resolution 3. I would encourage the Assembly to adopt the 2022 compensation guidelines because it offers the minimum level of compensation, which is both fair and supportive. Plus, it is mission driven, which is so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others speaking to the resolution? Any others?
So for all the votes.
Being none, we will proceed now to vote, and the poll will come up before you, and you'll vote in the usual fashion. Okay, the results are before you, as you can see. Oh, nope. We're still, yep, we're not, we haven't yet. The results are not before you, but you're still voting, so please vote. We have 85%. We usually achieve a margin of about 88%, 86 to 88%, because some of the logins are not able to vote. I'm not able to vote, for example. And
You know what?
Some
Somebody's going to
folks
get
are
hurt.
not necessarily at their device
Put them
all
in,
the time.
Antonio. They'll break their legs and
We are now at 88%. I
God.
see there's still a few votes coming in. We'll keep it open a little bit longer. Okay, I'm not seeing any more votes come in, so let's end the poll. Then we could share the results, please. All right, as you can see, the vote has succeeded. The compensation guidelines for 2022 have been approved by a margin of 284 to 11. Thank you very much. Let's see. All right, we'll proceed now to our Lutheran Social Services of Minnesota is an important partner in our mission, not only here in Northwestern Minnesota, but all across Minnesota. So that one of the largest social service agency in the state. And each year they give the Servant of Christ Award to one or more congregations that has demonstrated Christ's love in their community. And this year, the award goes to First Lutheran Church in Battle Lake. And here's the LSS video.
Hi, I'm Patrick Tucson, CEO of Lutheran Social Service of Minnesota. I bring you greetings from LSS, your social ministry organization, serving on behalf of the 6 synods of the ELCA and all 87 counties of our state. Throughout the past year, we have witnessed the ways that congregations across the state have come together to serve their neighbors during these challenging times. LSS is proud to work as a partner with you in our shared mission of service that inspires hope, changes lives, and builds community. This past year at LSS, the COVID-19 pandemic required us to stretch in new ways to meet the growing and emerging needs of our neighbors, especially for our older neighbors and those who are unemployed or homeless. Together, with your help and support, we've delivered more services to more Minnesotans than ever before in our history. Early on, when the pandemic began to impact the livelihoods of thousands of Minnesotans, the tremendous need for food support quickly became apparent. To meet the growing need for nutritious meals, we joined hands with congregations in several communities statewide to create pop-up meal distribution sites. Many volunteers also stepped forward to help us deliver meals to our more vulnerable older neighbors through our LSS Meals service. Through our caregiver service, trained volunteers, often from congregations, provided support through phone visits and tablet technology. This service has been so important to ensure that caregivers have support they need at a time when assistance through in-person visits has not been possible. Many congregations also responded to our call to sew protective masks for the people we support, our employees, and our volunteers. More than 24,000 cloth masks have been donated to protect people delivering and receiving meals, youth experiencing homelessness, and people living with disabilities. Because of your incredible work and generosity, these masks are helping to ensure we deliver essential services as safely as possible. Cannot thank you enough. In 2020, we also experienced the tragic death of George Floyd in Minneapolis and the unrest that followed. Within days, a team from LSS organized a household supplies drive for Minneapolis families. And we were amazed when van loads of supplies arrived from congregations in the Twin Cities area and greater Minnesota to support their neighbors in Minneapolis. Each year, we lift up the remarkable work of congregations through our Servant of Christ Award. The Servant of Christ Award is given each year to one or more congregations in each synod that are leaders in social ministry in their community. This year, we're honored to present the 2021 Servant of Christ Award to First Lutheran Church in Battle Lake in the Northwestern Minnesota Synod. First Lutheran Church in Battle Lake lives out its mission to bring the hope of Christ to others. During the COVID-19 pandemic, First Lutheran Church reached out beyond the walls of the congregation with an umbrella program called First Cares, bringing generosity, prayers, care, and concern to community members in need as the effects of the pandemic continued. This caring congregation has made an impact in the lives of their neighbors by supporting the local food shelf, assembling and delivering food, and providing holiday food boxes and gift cards to their neighbors. On behalf of Lutheran Social Service of Minnesota, thank you for the ways you have been a powerful presence in your community to love and serve your neighbors.
Thank you so much to Lutheran Social Services of Minnesota, and congratulations to all the people and all the staff at First Lutheran Church in Battle Lake. This is truly a great accomplishment, but it cannot be done by one individual. It has to be a team effort, just like doing the service to our church and to our God is not an individual, but it's a team effort. So thank you and congratulations. We're now going to move on to 2 resolutions, the last one in this plenary session and the first one in the next plenary session. And both of these deal with current issues that the Synod Council struggled with and then decided that we had to do something. And so I'm going to call Pastor Wade Dutton once again. Remember that this resolution has been made and seconded. There is no need to do that. We'll be just open for discussion. So Pastor Wade.
Resolution 4, a resolution to revise boundary training for rostered leaders and synodically authorized ministers. Be it resolved that the Constitution of the Northwestern Minnesota Synod be revised as follows. Revise S1415A08 with respect to ministers of word and sacrament to read: within 12 months of the first time a rostered minister or synodically authorized minister assumes office in a congregation or ministry agency in this synod, whether under call or contract, he or she is expected to provide the synod office with documentation showing completion of at least 6 contact hours of continuing education in the prevention of sexual and other boundary violations. The minister or synodically authorized minister shall renew this training at least every 3 years by completing at least 6 contact hours of continuing education in the prevention of sexual and other boundary violations using a curriculum approved by the Bishop of the Northwestern Minnesota Synod. The minister shall provide documentation showing completion of this training and shall not be eligible to activate the rostered minister profile until such training is completed and documentation provided. Add S1434A20 with respect to ministers of word and service. Within 12 months of the first time a rostered minister assumes office in a congregation or ministry agency in the synod, whether under call or contract, he or she is expected to provide the synod office with documentation showing completion of at least 6 contact hours of continuing education in the prevention of sexual and other boundary violations. They shall renew this training at least every 3 years by completing at least 6 contact hours of continuing education in the prevention of sexual and other boundary violations using a curriculum approved by the Bishop of the Northwestern Minnesota Synod. The minister shall provide documentation showing completion of this training and shall not be eligible to activate the rostered minister profile until such training is completed and documentation provided.
Thank you, Pastor Wade. As this resolution comes from the Synod Council, it has already been made and seconded, and so it is before you. Are there any speaking to the resolution? Resolution number 4.
I'm Aaron.
Chair recognizes Pastor Aaron Sumula-Fulkerts.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Sumula-Fulkerts, and I am the Synod Minister for Mental Health and Wellness and an Assistant Professor of Graduate Counseling at Minnesota State University, Moorhead. And I'd like to speak in favor of Resolution 4. First, passing this resolution will get us in line with other synods in the ELCA that already have similar requirements of boundaries training every 3 years and within 12 months of assuming a new call. Next, we live in an increasingly complicated world, and having a good sense of boundaries is important for navigating the world that we live in. Boundaries training gives rostered ministers a space to critically think how to navigate the challenging situations that they often find themselves in. Boundaries training is also a way to keep both pastors and the people that they serve safe, and ensures that we are providing a high quality ministry. Lastly, we have been working to make the boundaries training more accessible and available by adding an online boundaries class. I have developed and taught 2 sections of this online boundaries class already, and it has worked to effectively present the necessary information. Going forward, we will continue to offer this online boundary training 3 to 4 times a year, and also offer more traditional face-to-face training options. These mini course offerings each year will make it very easy for rostered leaders to get the necessary boundary training. Please vote in favor of Resolution 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others speaking to the resolution? Pastor Brad Scogan, you're recognized by the chair.
Pastor Bradley Scogan, I'm serving at First Lutheran in Battle Lake, also serve on your Synod staff. I'm speaking in favor of the resolution. I was actually part of the team, the chair of the team that developed this, the original documentation for this a number of years ago, and welcome this addition, and want to lend support and emphasis to what Pastor Aaron just spoke about. There continues to be a need for this boundaries training, and having a renewal every 3 years is incredibly supportive of that. Also want to endorse how much more easily accessible the boundaries training is, that the Synod has developed this program for easy access to boundaries training. So again, I speak in favor of the resolution.
Thank you. The moderator informs me that there are no others speaking to the resolution, so we shall proceed to poll. You'll receive a poll. It'll pop up on your screen. If it does not, you can select the poll feature at the bottom or the top, depending on whether you're on a computer or a tablet. And we'll open the poll now. Once again, if you don't see the poll popping up on your device, try using Alt-Tab or try selecting the poll feature. Again, we will close the poll when it looks as though no one else is voting. Okay, we are at 87%. Not seeing any others proceeding to vote. Oh, there's one more. Give it a little bit longer. All right, let's end the poll and share the results. As you can see, the motion has succeeded by a margin of 286 to 8. Thank you very much. Well, at this point, we are delighted that we get to proceed once again with conversation with Dr. Jennings, with hearing from Dr. Jennings, as he will offer the keynote address for this. No.
After the break.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to give them, they have to have a break. Sorry, we're not going to proceed right away. We're going to have a break. I'm actually Julie Wilson. You have the announcements.
We are going to take a short break. We will come back together at 3 o'clock. During this next break, we have a beautiful slideshow that Cheryl Zay at the Synod office put together of the memorials and then the congregational and rostered leader anniversaries. So please stick around for just a few minutes, right as I am done, to watch that slideshow of pictures. And then we will come back together again at 3 o'clock, where we will again hear from Dr. Jennings. So we'll see you in just a little bit.
I just want to say before you leave, that was the Synod, a virtual Synod assembly version of calling for the orders of the day. Right.